Hi, I'm Liz Dyer, founder of the Mama Bears, an organization that is dedicated to supporting, educating, and empowering moms of LGBTQ kids and the LGBTQ community. I'm here today to talk with Brian Falduto. I forgot to ask you, Brian, is that the correct pronunciation? Oh, I got
Yes.
it. Brian Falduto. And I want to tell you just a little bit about Brian before we start talking. Brian is an actor, singer songwriter, and life coach. He was named as one of the 20 most influential, outspoken, and optimistic individuals on the planet by PrideLife Magazine in their 20th anniversary issue. For a lot of people, he's best known for his child actor days as that gay kid in School of Rock. Brian has a new country single that's dropping in a few days. I'm just really excited to talk to him today about his new single and some other things. Hey, Brian, it's great to be here with you today.
Hi, so excited to be here.
um, I was so happy when you sent me an email and told me about your new single that's coming out and suggested that, we get together and talk and let the Mama Bears know about you and your music. Thank you so much. How did you hear about the Mama Bears?
So when this project finally finished wrapping, like production wise, I was like, okay, so who do I show this to? Because basically, I have like a queer audience of sorts, and I have a country music audience of sorts. But this song is it appeals to everyone, in my opinion, but it has a niche outlet in the form of queer youth of faith, for example, or this. It's a song about being accepted in the church if you're LGBTQ. So I didn't think that it was gonna like fly onto country radio, and I didn't think it was gonna go onto Christian radio. So I was like, where does all of that meet? And what's actually really cool is I've discovered there's so many organizations that are catering to that much needed gap, which is people who feel a little ostracized by the church or by country music, and who are queer and who need a place to express themselves freely. And Mama Bears is one of those organizations. And you guys, I love the work you do, and I was so excited to connect with you and share this song.
Well, thanks. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah.
Um, as I was going back and listening to a lot of your music, I saw some other interviews and articles. And one thing that really caught my eye was a quote that I read. One time you said, I got noticed because I stood out. And then I spent the rest of my life trying not to stand out. Would you share with us a little bit what it was like for you to grow up gay and how your that experience kind of shaped the person that you are today and also influenced the things that you're passionate about?
Yeah. I was in a movie when I was younger, as you mentioned. I was in School of Rock, which I had a character that I still don't call it a gay character because it was a child, but there was an LGBTQ referencing character, a lot of like flamboyance and um, diva-esque lines, and cultural items such as Liza Minnelli were mentioned, and it's just this character a lot of people identified with, especially young feminine boys who felt like who hadn't seen something like that on screen before. They really like identified with me, and so I kind of became like this figurehead for like queer kids at the time. And I was like, wait, no, I don't want to. That's a lot of pressure. Because at the time it was 2003. I was in the fifth grade. The only thing I knew about being gay was that it was bad, and that I shouldn't do it because it's not cool. Um, and which is crazy because I had this opportunity to be different and to kind of like stand up for being different. But of course, I don't blame myself. I was young, but I think the point of that quote was like I got the role because I walked into this audition room and I was like this flamboyant, like out of the box character, and they were like, "We've got to do something with this." And then as soon as the movie came out, I was like, "Oh, I don't want to be associated with this thing that I got recognized for." So my life has been just like a series of corrections to kind of get me back to living at my most authentic self.
So do you feel that that experience has, had a big impact on the person you are today?
Oh, totally. Yeah. It's like a clear bookmark for me. I don't really remember a lot of stuff before School of Rock. I think that I like from a psychological standpoint, I feel like I shut a lot of things out because, as I said, that was kind of like the unfiltered me. And then School of Rock came out, and I just put this giant curtain up over who I was because of all the attention I was getting, which felt negative at the time. And so, yeah. And then, I did that for a long time. And then I came out finally my senior year of college, and I've spent the past 6 or 7 years kind of just healing, and understanding who I am and trying my best to put that out, which is always easier said than done. But what's fun about what I do now as a life coach is I'm trying to help other people do that too. Because I do think it's an intricate process and we don't have to do it alone.
Yeah, that is interesting. I think there is a clear connection between what you experienced and you being a life coach, because with being a life coach, you really are trying to help people kind of know themselves and be able to live authentically, without shame or hesitation, aren't you?
Yeah, that's the goal. Yeah, I just felt when I was in that place where I wasn't myself and I was disconnected from myself, I felt very optionless, helpless often. I felt like there weren't things to turn to or people to talk to. What I've discovered in the past 6 or 7 years is that there's thousands of resources for people to reach out to if they're brave enough. It's a scary thing to do, but I want to be part of that team that's helping other people, move through this. And I think Mama Bears does that as well. Something cool that as I mentioned, that I've discovered with this song is that um, there's a whole another set. I always say, like, I view options as like open doors. There's like a whole another hallway of people who want to walk down and find doors to open as a queer youth of faith, right? But for me, this song is all about I didn't know that that even existed. So the purpose of the song is to let people know that there are options out there. And yeah, I mean, as a life coach, I want to be one of those options essentially.
Yeah, it is really exciting to have so many resources now. That's a pretty new phenomenon, though. You say you came out in 2000, or you did School of Rock in 2003.
Yeah.
And then I know my own adult son came out in 2006, 2007. And just, that recent, there were not very many resources at all.
Yeah.
I mean, the resources that were even addressing the issue were anti-LGBTQ.
Yeah.
They weren't really, there was very little, if any. I can't really remember anything significantly. Well, maybe something, like PFLAG was around.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so there were just, there was, I think Mel White was doing a few things, but there was
I
very
just
few resources back then. But now we just have so many resources, and that's so wonderful and so great, and really coming from a lot of different directions.
Yeah, we're doing much better. I was just having this conversation with my mom the other day, actually, because she was like, I was just letting her know that I always felt loved by my parents, but it was more just like I looked around and I never saw anyone like me or no one talking about anyone like me, which is so funny because especially nowadays when I just feel like there's so many people like me. Um, so it's like, it was and as one of the items in the media that people probably looked at and was like, oh, there's someone like me. I don't know. To be honest, I feel a tremendous amount of guilt sometimes for running away from that because, I mean, obviously, I did what I needed to survive as a kid, but I'm just grateful for the opportunity to now be connecting with people and sharing things that I care about because, um, yeah, it's so funny. Like it's a funny circle. Sorry, I tend to ramble, but I get emotional about it all too.
Well, you shouldn't feel any guilt. I mean, you were a kid, and listen, we all know in 2003, it was hard being a gay kid.
Yeah.
It was really hard. Well, I mean, really, when I think about it, I think you and my son are probably pretty close in age.
Is he
because
single? I'm
he
just kidding.
uh, because when he came out in 2007, well, I guess he might be a little older than you, because when he came out in 2007, he was in um, his second year of college. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think most young people were keeping it to themselves,
Yeah,
back at that time, because it was just too traumatic. There was just so much condemnation, whether it was direct or it was just understood.
yeah,
It was just there. I mean, people were just trying to stay safe and healthy and figure things out. I personally have a lot of regrets that my son hid who he was, and that I wasn't there for him, in his adolescence and teen years, when he, was realizing that he was gay, and doing things like, when he would go to bed at night, trying to bargain with God to change him, if he was good enough, if he did this or that. I'm sure you can relate to
I
that
remember those
story,
nights.
because so many
Yeah,
young people I talk to say I did the same thing.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I remember those nights
yeah,
well.
yeah. So,
Um,
so we all have regrets, but I always say, when we know better, we do better.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like, everyone's getting a little more informed, I think. But we keep referring to it's like easier now, but it's not easy all the time. I think that there's this like adolescent or youth desire to make fun of the way people walk and talk, right? If they're different than us. So I truly believe that that's where a lot of the problems start, is from people making fun of the way people walk and talk. So if we can stop doing that, we can maybe allow everyone to remove shame from their lives earlier. But it is still difficult. I think even queer youth today, LGBTQ youth today, have to, at one point in their life, look around and be like, I am different than you, which is something that they have to acknowledge internally and then put that out into the world. And that takes courage, and that takes strength, and that takes introspection, and all these like scary things.
Yes, there's still so much work to do. I mean, that's why the mama bears, exist, is because there is so much work to do, and there are still so many challenges that LGBTQ people have to face. And I think I noticed, after we accomplished some big wins, like same-sex marriage being legalized, then we saw a very big, much more passionate pushback from anti-LGBTQ organizations or positions or
Yeah,
ideas, because I guess for some people, for some reason, it scares them, or they just haven't been able to open up their minds and hearts and really think this through, and see the reality and the truth. So there is a lot of work to do, and that does make it hard. And that's one reason I think it's so important, for moms and dads of LGBTQ kids, no matter how old they are, to be on the front lines, because I think, what we want to do is let kind of set it up where LGBTQ people don't have to always be fighting these battles, that we can fight for them, so they can, you know, put a lot of their energy into living wholeheartedly as the people that they were created to be. Um,
yeah.
so I love doing that work, because I mean, my son does stuff too, but I just don't want him to. I don't want him to be out there, being the one to get hit with the stones. I feel like, since it's not me, since I'm not the one that's LGBTQ, I can take the hits easier.
Well, that's great, and I think that's like half of the battle, is just letting um, people know that they're seen, heard, and validated, and who better to do that than a parent?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah.
Okay. So, how did you? We kind of glossed over this, but I wanted to ask you a little bit more, when you became a life coach, and kind of what led you down that road, and what's that like, and is that still, a big part of your day-to-day life, and how would people get in touch with you for that?
Yeah, so it is still a big part of what I do. I coach pretty much daily. I've actually been coaching a lot during COVID. As you can imagine, it's been like a tough time for people. Um, I got into it because it kind of all just happened within like the same couple of months. I feel like this. It sounds a bit cheesy, but I feel like a lot of people can maybe relate. I just had this kind of like awakening moment where I was like trying to figure out what I cared about, because I was doing all this inner work on myself, primarily as an artist, because I was writing songs and finally finding this voice that I hadn't had for years, and I was processing all this feeling through music, and that was leaking its way into my acting. And I joined this acting studio that was all about like honoring who you are and bringing that to the work. And it was just this time where I was just like, yeah, I want to be who I am. I want to bring that to my artistry. Like, I'm so excited. Like, how do I do that? And then I was like, wait, how does one do that? How does one just rediscover themselves and reconnect with themselves and heal? And that launched me into like this journey of doing that for myself, which I became really passionate about. It's a bit addictive, I guess, in a way, once you start doing it, because you're like, oh, there's all these things to do. And then I had a moment where I was like, well, what do I care about anymore? And I was like, well, I care about music, and I care about acting, and I care about this. I care about healing and helping others heal. So I was like, I think I have to find a way to make that my other avenue. And so yeah, I just kind of was I like I remember I did like a Google search, like how do I help people without getting a therapy degree? Um, and it was like life coaching. So I was like, cool, I'm in.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. And for all of us, healing is a lifelong
Yeah.
journey, isn't it? I mean, I think, as I really started getting involved in wanting to help moms of LGBTQ kids and hearing so many stories, one thing I realized is that to some degree, we all deal with shame,
Mm,
and we
yeah.
all need to heal from that. And one of the best things I think we can do is to find someone or a group of people that we trust, a community or individuals or a life coach or someone that we can trust and open up to and share our stories. Because when we let that stuff out, when we make it known and bring it into the light, it really loses a lot of power that it has in our lives.
It weakens it. Yeah.
Yeah, it really does. I mean,
If you
it's a
put a
process. It's not immediate, but it kind of puts us on that road of recognizing it and coping with it and healing from it.
Yeah, I mean, if you put a candle in the darkness disappears.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so you are you got a new single that's coming out and it's called God Loves Me Too. And I watched, thank you for letting me have a little preview of that ahead of time. And I watched it and I can't wait for everybody to see it. I think it's wonderful and I love the song. Tell me a little bit more about the inspiration for that song and how it came about to be.
Yeah, first of all, I'm so excited. I don't think I've ever been this excited. I can't believe it's finally coming out on Tuesday. It feels like it's been forever. But yeah, the song came about. I mean, I grew up in the church. I went to church every Sunday. I would wake up sometimes at like 5:30 a.m. so I could lead the services as a singer. And I went to private school, Catholic school, since the third grade. Um, I sat in theology classes every day for 45 minutes. Like that was my life. My life was the church, to a certain degree. And then I came out and I heard all the rumors that I wasn't accepted and that I needed to change in order to like continue being a part of the church. And that obviously just added to my shame and my discomfort. And then, as I got more confident in myself as a gay man, you go through that moment where you drift away from the church a little bit. I feel like a lot of LGBTQ persons can perhaps relate to that. And then, I don't know, I was in Los Angeles for my first time ever, spending a winter there for some projects. And, I didn't know anyone in town because I had never lived there before. And I had Sundays off, and I was like, maybe I'll go check out a church, have like a nostalgic moment. And I typed in like LGBT friendly churches, and I went to the Hollywood United Methodist Church. And I remember I walked up to it, and there was this giant pride flag above the entrance. And I was like, nice, awesome, great, cool. Can't wait to go in here. And then I did. I sat down in the pew, and every single Sunday, I went for about every Sunday for the whole time I was in LA. And they would always start the service by making it very clear that everyone is welcome there, including, and then they would go through the list of everyone who's welcome, and they would make it a point every Sunday to let me know, LGBTQ persons know that they are welcome here. It was just like really important to me because I had spent so many times going to church not even being addressed, but just like hearing this rumor that I wasn't allowed to be there or that I had to change in order to be there. And so it was really cool to have that feeling of being acknowledged and accepted. Um, and yeah, and then I had a moment where I was like, there's a kid in a church somewhere who doesn't know this feeling yet. Um, and I wanna let him know that one day, or her, or them, or whatever pronoun they want to use, that it might be an option for them one day.
I love that. I love it so much. And that, what's the date that we're going to get to see that?
June 16th,
June
Tuesday.
16th, just a few days
Yeah.
away. Today's the 12th, so we just got 4 more days. Well, I'm really excited. So you're a gay country music artist, and there
Hmm.
are not that many. Well, we don't know that
Yeah.
many who have identified as gay and are country music artists. Let's talk about that for a minute. I mean, is it hard? Are you seeing things change? Tell me a little bit about being in that industry and being gay, and is it something you think about a lot? Is it impacting you?
Yeah. Um, well, I think that industry is such a loose word these days because there's also just like such an independent scene, right? And like there's indie music, and like anyone can upload music essentially and like exist as an artist and gain a following. So which is a really cool thing. It's a cool time. When I refer to country music industry, and which I feel I can speak about a little bit because I worked in country music radio for about 3 years. I'm referring to like the CMA awards and like the the country music platform as people know it. But there's tons of like genres of country music below that exist and are doing great. One of which is like a queer country movement that's happening. There's a couple artists that I know of personally, such as Ty Herndon, Brandon Stansel, Cameron Hawthorne, that are making music and being unapologetically gay about it. And uh, and then there's like the main platform of country music, which is slowly letting people like leak in, such as Brandy Carlisle or Lil Nas. But Brandy Carlisle's been around for years doing amazing music. So I don't know what took them so long to like let her on the stage. So there does seem to be some sort of like standard that you have to rise up to in order for them to like call you part of the country music community. And for some, I don't see much LGBTQ persons breaking that barrier. So I think it would be cool if more could.
Yeah, I do too. Well, thanks for hanging in there, and for being authentic, and being such a wonderful representation of the community. And just, I don't know, I think that it takes a lot of courage to keep doing what you're passionate about, even though there are some of these barriers.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, every step of the way has sometimes sucked and sometimes been amazing. But I mean, it all, when you look back, I'm sure a lot of people can relate. When you look back, it all seems to make sense somehow. And so I just try and trust everything that's happening because I think that it's all working out the way it's supposed to. So,
well, I love that attitude. Okay, but I warned you that at the end I was going to be asking you some
oh,
lightning round questions, right?
so fun. Yeah.
Okay. But before I do that, I just want to give you an opportunity. If there's anything that we haven't talked about today or anything you want to say. Well, one thing is, before we start that, you definitely should tell people how they can get in touch with you. But we'll also include some information in, as in the comment or introduction description of this. But also, if there's anything you want to say, I don't know, to the mama bears or to LGBTQ people or just people who love music, whatever, anything you want to say before I ask you these fun questions.
The easiest place to connect with me is on Instagram, just because that's where I'm most active. I have my personal Instagram, Brian Falduto, and then I have a separate Instagram called The Gay Life Coach, which is just daily mindfulness tips that I personally really enjoy posting because it feels like I'm contributing something positive every day to the world. So that's kind of why that exists. And then I also have the Gay Life Coach podcast, which just started like 2 months ago, which people should listen to if they're interested. And yeah, I mean, my only kind of petition right now is just that this song is coming out on Tuesday, and I think I mentioned before we jump on, I've never held something that feels so important in my pocket. It's an important message, and I've come to realize that not just because I wrote it down and I was like, this is important. Like throughout the process of filming it and talking to people about it, I've realized that it can resonate with a lot of people who maybe need to hear such an affirmative message about being gay in church. And so if you know someone who needs to hear it, just make sure you send it to them.
That is a really important message. And I don't want to gloss over that, because honestly, in the Mama Bears community, there are so many of us, so many of our families who have felt completely disenfranchised and neglected and even hurt and harmed by the church because of anti-LGBTQ theology. And that is some of the work that we do every day, is reminding moms and their kids and their whole family that God loves them, and that we believe that scripture has completely been misinterpreted and misunderstood. We don't feel like we have to twist theology at all to get to where we're at. And the number one thing that we always fall back on is that I always say the fruit doesn't lie, that we can always find a book or a community or a scripture or a pastor that agrees with us, no matter what side of the fence we fall on, whether it's affirming
Mm-hmm.
or condemning. But the fruit does not lie. And what we know as moms of LGBTQ kids is that our kids are more healthy and more whole when they are affirmed and allowed to live wholeheartedly into the people they were created to be. When we try to embrace the idea that they need to change, or even live celibate, impose celibacy, those things produce very bad fruit in the life of the people that we love and care about. And so you can't play with that. That's a reality. And I'm sure you even know that as an individual. You probably have, and as a life coach, you see that good theology produces good fruit.
Yeah.
And if our theology is producing depression or self-loathing or suicidal ideation, there's something wrong with it. We got to go back and think about it. So
Yeah.
your song is giving out a very important message. Sorry, I got on a little bandwagon there.
I loved it. Yeah, it's all so true and so important. Yeah, I don't really have anything to add because it was well put. Yeah.
Okay, Brian, thanks. Sorry, that is one of my bandwagons, and I love your
Yeah.
song because it really addresses that. Okay, let's get into this. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. What is your favorite word?
Word? Oh
Yeah.
gosh. Word. Um uh, I'm supposed to be answering like lightning round, aren't I? My favorite word is music.
I love it. Okay, what's one of your biggest pet peeves?
When people chew with their mouth open.
What is your favorite thing to cook?
I don't cook much, but uh, I'm good at making this like sausage pasta dish, which is not impressive.
Would that be your date night dinner?
Yeah, I did make it for a date once.
Oh, I love it. Okay, early riser or night owl?
I'm actually an early riser.
Who would you consider to be a hero?
Oh, I mean, so many people. Um, a hero for me is James Lacine. He founded the Trevor Project, and he's kind of been a mentor to me in my work as a life coach, and just also we talk sometimes about mindfulness stuff, and he's someone I really look up to.
Oh, I love the Trevor Project. They do
Yeah.
such great, important work. What TV show did you recently binge watch?
Oh, I'm currently watching the new season of Queer Eye, but I just finished the Never Have I Ever on Netflix, which is Mindy Kaling's show, I believe.
Oh, that is so cute, isn't it?
Yeah, did you watch it? It's so good. Yeah.
I'm not finished with it, but it is
Yeah.
adorable. My son turned me on to it. um, what's your superpower?
Empathy.
Wait, say that?
Empathy.
Empathy. Oh, I love that. Yes. If you could sing one song on American Idol, what would it be?
Oh, I've thought long and hard about this. It'd probably be wait, I can't remember the name of the song. No, When Will I Be Loved by Linda Ronstadt.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs, but I love cats. I just have to choose.
Okay, so last one. What would you like to see fixed in your lifetime?
Oh, what would I like to see fixed in my lifetime? I'd love to take this opportunity to mention that I'm a huge supporter of the Black Lives movement that's happening, Black Lives Matter movement that's happening, and that I'd love racism to end in my lifetime if that's possible. And I'm realizing that it runs way deeper than any of us thought, and that a lot of work is. Yeah.
Well, I'm very passionate about that too, and I'm not surprised that that was your answer. I know you're just a very compassionate person that cares about all people, and that's just at the forefront right now. It's really on our hearts and minds right now.
Yeah.
Brian, it's been great being with you here today. Thank you so much for taking the time. Good luck in everything that you do, and I hope this is not the last time that we get together and talk like this.
Of course not. Thank you so much for your support.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too.
Bye bye.